Welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM. I am Lisa LaRose, and each week we explore the depths of love, openness, and the boundlessness of the human spirit. And I am so delighted because I'm joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael. It's just always such a delight.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. One thing more than anything else that I look forward to during the week is having this little conversation with you about what you just said, all these wonderful things, love, connection, you name it, we cover it.
That we do. And last week, I know my mind was still reeling because we were joined by the incredible Carol Collins. And we had such a wonderful conversation about the ripple effect of how an emotion shape our reality and also our collective consciousness. I think the conversation was just filled with so many profound insights and practical advice that really did. I took so many things to heart. How about you, Michael?
My notes, I took 4 pages of notes. It was pretty amazing. The teachers always, that she channels, connect with us in a way that gives us exactly what we need when we need it, because they know what we need when we need it. And it was pretty darn amazing about what they said about the grid, and that the grid is where all things come, that everything's in the grid before you experience it. It's there already. You just have to be able to access it by a frequency in your own intuition, and you got to be resonating the same thing that's in your grid that you really want. And we have wants and desires, and that is it was profound in many ways. I would encourage any of all of PRN-FM listeners to go check out the podcast, the replay of this. It's stellar. You're going to have to listen to it a couple of times because it is really hitting the nail on the head in a deep way. Really nice.
I agree wholeheartedly. There were just so many different things, and it always reminds me that we always get these subtle signs and synchronicities, and it kind of indicates the next thing that we're meant to embark on, and whatever that endeavor is, it can flourish. We just have to have the intention that the highest good of all creates this unbelievable, uplifting ripple effect, and I think that's really we're the gift in that conversation and the conversations that we have every week, Michael, because even when it's just you and I oftentimes when we sign off, there's so many different directions that my mind goes, and truly a blessing. Truly is a blessing.
I agree. There's a lot of nuggets of treasure in every show that we do. Our audience, I'm sure by now, if you're new to PRN-FM here, this particular show, Connect to Love, we do not write a script. Everything is unscripted. Everything is intuited from the questions, the answers, the things we talk about. We don't know what the heck's going to go on. and it always turns out to be fabulous because we trust that it will occur and that it will unfold in the way that it's supposed to unfold. And it's no accident that you're listening to the show when you're listening to the show, and the content on the show is as it is because, again, there are no accidents and there are no coincidences. Something in the show is meant for you. Something.
Mm-hmm.
And
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, just listen and be open-minded.
So that's what's so fun about these conversations, Michael, because it's always about the gift of seeing the potential. We usually decide on a topic a few minutes before the show, and Michael was so gracious to allow me to drive the bus today. So thank you, Michael.
Slip into the zone. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We come up with a topic, and you slip into the zone, and everything else falls away. And I love it that way. I've operated my entire life that way. Now, everything I've done for almost 40 years has been. Some people might say, it's the seat of your pants. You're not making a plan. You're not writing it down. You're not using a day timer. You're not using a calendar, the right thing. No, I'm not. Not doing any of those things because it's a fun way to let life unfold. It's a fun way to pay attention to how you're feeling and to basically flow in the direction of excitement and passion and positivity, instead of being, cubbyholed in something for hours that you're really not interested in. That doesn't
You're
make
absolutely
you
right.
enjoy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We get that right. And if we could all plan our lives like that, plan our days and our weeks and our months and our years like that, it's a great way to live. You have to, let the fear go, arrest it when it occurs, and transmute it into something else, and keep moving, because there's good. Everything is for your highest good. You said
you're true.
Yeah,
very true.
Everything that's occurring is unfolding for your highest good. Even the things you think are not, the things that you think are tragic, they're unfolding for your highest good from some perspective. And if you focus on that, you don't experience the event in the same way as if you're only seeing it as a tragedy.
You're right. And you make that shift. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that some people, you and I are kind of that way. We just have this ability to see the highest possibility, not only for ourselves, but in others and situations. And oftentimes that helps us navigate our lives. And I think that anybody has that potential to shift from a fear-based mindset to one rooted in trust, love, and expansion. And as Abraham Hicks always says, you're the creator of your reality. What you think about, you get, whether you want it or not. And I picked up a book, and this sort of what sparked this idea for the conversation today. And it said, I just happened to open it and said, everything you seek already exists in the present moment. And that echoes what Abraham says. And there was a wonderful analogy that was written about in the book, and I'll just sort of summarize it. It said that when you peel off the layers of an onion, in a sense you're peeling away the layers of awareness and tapping into a seed of consciousness that they call the enlightenment ray. And the core of the onion exists even when the onion is whole, and you can only see the outside of the onion. So what if every time you'd been seeking something, it was right there the entire time? So what if confidence, love, and external manifestations of a relationship or an experience or of having something was already in the present moment in which you were seeking? It was yet your attention was not able to locate it. And I really love that, because I think about, when I read it, and this is sort of where my mind wandered, I thought about, well, when I'm chopping onions, I'm peeling the layers of the skin off, and it's like, it's really this tough exterior, and there's lots of different tricks to get it off, and sometimes I'm a little bit more patient than others, and then you kind of get in, and then as the oils come out, you start to tear, and it's sort of like this cathartic thing. And I thought about that as we're sort of peeling off the layers of the onion, and they're shedding, and inside there is this light, there's this potential, it's that highest potential, and it's just, you don't know how tough those outer layers are to get off, but then by the time you get to the center, there's hardly anything there, and that's where the seed is. And I just thought it was a fun place to explore from. I just love that idea, and I'd love for your thoughts about that quote, and just see
what
where.
What I thought of was something that the teacher said last week, and it was a very profound statement. It said, they said, you have whatever it is you desire energetically in your non-physical plane already, your energy plane. It's already there. Once you think of it, it's already there. You have to put yourself there energetically. You have to match it, right? And the biggest trip up with all this is that we fear or doubt, or we have, we don't believe that that's the case and that it's there for us already. And that's what that brings to mind is that it's already there. And it's sort of a conundrum for many, many, many people. People who live in the 3D of, dealing with drama all day, or dealing with all matter of negativity, and have been unable to mitigate that negativity, to shift their thinking, shift their perceptions, shift their inner conversation, shift everything around it to something more positive, or just simply to extricate themselves from that situation because of fear or doubt holding them back. This is powerful stuff, and empowering as well, because we are much more capable. I think it's Bashar that said that whole idea, that adage that, we're humans, we have 100% of brain, we're only using 10%. He says, no, that's not it. That's not it. You have 100% of your brain, and you're using 100% of your brain. You're just not using it the way that you should.
Right.
But, yeah, that's true. Where are you focused? Where are you focused in any given moment? Are you focused on something you fear, something you doubt, something you're angry about, something you're revengeful about, some drama that has unfolded that has nothing to do with you, but you're energetically invested in it, right? We have this tendency to energetically invest in I call it wasting our energy, on things that don't matter, that we have been convinced matter, right? Because somebody's involved that we know, somebody that we love, somebody that we care for. When, in essence, all we have to do is shift to love. Come at the situation from a perspective of love. And love and fear can't coexist in the same moment. Positive and negative can't coexist in the same moment. So what do? We shift. We shift. We look at it from a different way. Look at whatever it is that we're dealing with from a different angle, and one that is based on the fact that what we're investing, when we're investing in negative, we're getting a negative ripple. We're getting reverberations of that negativity, and by that I mean the rest of your life, the rest of your interactions, the reality that unfolds before you in any given moment. It is going to resonate that ripple effect. It's going to reflect that ripple effect. And so what you and I are talking about for our listeners here on PRN-FM is a positive ripple effect where we are creating, like we're thinking love, okay? We're thinking love, all things love. We're talking about the things that we love. We're talking about the things we love adding positive energy to, right? Our work, our relationships. This was something that came out last week, too, that I thought was very interesting, that the teachers talked about, saying, I love adding energy to. I love adding energy. That's a brilliant statement. I love adding energy to. I love adding energy to my relationship. I love adding energy, positive energy, not just any energy. I love adding positive energy to my relationship with my furry creatures, my cat, my dog, my ferret, whatever it may be. I love adding positive energy to my walk, to my interactions with people all day. I mean, you can go on and on and on, but the beauty of it is, and this is the kicker, is that what we're generating there, what we're creating is a ripple. And putting those statements out there, we're creating a ripple, and you'll feel differently. That's the litmus test. You feel differently. You start talking about all the things you love and love putting energy into, positive energy, loving energy. There's no way that fear and doubt can coexist in that moment when you're doing that. And that's the point. We always talk about that shift. How do we do it? People go, how do I do it? I'm thinking this. I'm really upset. I'm sad. I'm blah, blah, blah. Start talking about all the things you love. Talk about putting loving energy into that moment. Wow, what a game changer. That is a game changer.
Absolutely. It was interesting. After last week's show, there were so many different things that I kept thinking about, and one of the things that the teachers talked about was that the universe expands through our alignment with potential, and that love and the high frequency of motion accelerates the unfolding of our best reality. And a friend of mine, I met with her for a bite to eat, and she's going through some challenges. And I said to her, have you ever seen the documentary by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life? And she said no. And I said, well, I have the DVD. She didn't have a DVD player. I was able to find it on YouTube. And then I thought, it's been so long since I've watched it. Maybe I should tune back in. Maybe this is a message for me.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it, I was reminded back to the time when Louise Hay was called to start working with individuals with AIDS. And she said somebody reached out to her and said, Louise, you published this book. Do you think it was right when AIDS was diagnosed, and there was a lot of fear and misunderstanding and whatnot. And so she agreed. She said, "No, you know what? I'll host a little group." And so she had 6 people in her living room, and she said, "And all we're going to talk about to them," she said, "we're only going to talk about love and the positive things that we're doing for healing." And they sang a song, and they joined in just a completely immersive, positive experience. And a few days later, she got a call from one of the gentlemen who participated, and he said, "I just want to tell you that last night was the first night I've been able to sleep since my diagnosis." And the next week she had 25 people, and then it was 60, and then it was 125. And the next thing you know, they were in a gymnasium. And then believe it was the city of Los Angeles gave them another big, huge meeting space. I mean, that's the ripple effect.
That is
you start
effect. Yeah.
6 people in your living room. And the changes that it made and the differences in how many people's lives. And that was what she stood by. She said, "No, we're not going to talk about any of the fear-based things. We're just going to talk about love and the positive affirmations and the things that you can do." And
none of the how and none of the why, which is what trips most people up. How and why. They get focused on that, and it's an endless loop of negative thinking. But I love that. I love that. That is a perfect example of a ripple effect. The perfect example, in my view. It doesn't get any better than that, and most people don't experience that in their everyday lives. Interestingly enough, you gave me this idea about the fact that people out there experiencing anxiety and depression and other things that are of not of a loving and positive nature should definitely tune into this podcast so they can get not only the tools that can help them move past where they are to get out of that endless loop of a negative reality, the fear, the doubt, the worry, the how, the why things are the way they are, and build this podcast, build this radio show from that perspective. I just think that it takes. If I'm going to tell this to our audience just flat out because we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, but the ripple effect is 8 people who listen to this podcast telling 8 more people, and those 8 people telling 8 more people. And the thing that I get more than anything else when I reconnect with somebody I've given a card to this podcast, who I, in the past, is that, wow, I love listening to that. I listen to it on the way to work, and it makes me feel so good. It just changes my whole thought process about the day. It shifts my thinking because people we don't recognize the kind of things that we're exposing ourselves to first thing in the morning, the kind of negativity that we expose ourselves to that sets the stage for a negative reality for the entire day because our frequencies are in that negative space. And it's so true. That's everything out there, talk radio on the way to work. It's designed to do just that. It's designed to rile you up, to get your emotions in a fear or doubtful space, an angry space. That's what talk radio does. And so if that's what you're feeding your mind first thing in the morning, it's going to set the stage for those feelings permeating and resonating and rippling throughout your entire day. And we've talked about, in the mornings before and stuff, but the ripple effect, this point I'm getting at, is the ripple effect is everywhere. It's everywhere. And we have to be more cognizant, more aware as human souls and non-physical beings in physical bodies to what it is that we are feeding ourselves and how that is rippling out from us to not only the connections to the moments that follow and how those moments are contaminated with the kinds of fear and doubt and anger and frustration and worry that we are exposing ourselves to first thing in the morning, right? And that our soul, our guide, might help us in the evening if we ask. But your subconscious, according to Abraham Hicks, is not operating while you're sleeping. We can influence.
Really?
Yeah, so she says it's not operating while we're sleeping. It's like you're it's true. You're like, you go to sleep, and the subconscious grid that you've been sticking things to all day long is not functioning as a it gets a break. It gets a break when you're sleeping. And so I looked at that and I said, okay, so how are we going to sleep? How am I going to sleep? What is the last thing I see when I go to sleep? What am I sticking to my grid in the last couple of hours before rest? And when I get up in the morning, what am I exposing myself to? Because I can tell you, the more, if you're somebody who meditates in the morning, it is more challenging for you. It can be, not exactly, because everybody's different. It can be more challenging to meditate after you've gotten up, checked your phone for messages, gone out and walked the dog. Everything that you would ordinarily fix yourself breakfast, blah, blah, blah. You put everything else first except for your connection with your non-physical guide, being angels, whatever, higher self. It is so much more challenging to get your head back into that space.
Oh, absolutely.
Very challenging.
And you're right. And it's those unconscious patterns that really block our ability to see our potential. And I think so many times when you pick up the phone, if you were checking your, say, for instance, your Instagram or your Facebook feed, and somebody posts something that's the opposite of positive, and you get sucked right in. And then the algorithm feeds you more of that. And so it really, I think it's very important to really be self-aware. And I'm so happy you brought that topic up, Michael, because I think back in my life, back to after I graduated college, I got a job. And in the morning, I didn't drink coffee. Everybody got their coffee and would stand. So I would walk downstairs and I would go to the vending machine. I'd get myself a Mountain Dew. And then after lunch, I'd eat my lunch, and then I go down and I get myself a Mountain Dew. It's a lot. First of all, it's a lot of sugar. There's a lot of caffeine. I don't even drink soda pop anymore. But it was almost like my body was like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, time to go down and get your Mountain Dew. And it became an unconscious pattern. It wasn't a healthy pattern at all. And I broke myself of it, though. I thought, you know what, not only was I spending money in a machine, I didn't need to be spending money on it, but it wasn't healthy for me. The ingredients in Mountain Dew, there's nothing that was nurturing to my body. And it just wasn't. I mean, it wasn't good for my bones. It wasn't good for anything. But a lot of people, they'll have a candy bar with it, or they'll have whatever else, because it's in the vending machine. Well, if I'm having this, I'll have that. And it gets away from the way that it's so foreign to me. I couldn't even tell you the last time I had a Mountain Dew, but I can see how easily you can get into a pattern when you go to buy a coffee at one of the retailers or a drink that you like, and sometimes there's the pastries, and you see them in the cabinet, and they look really good, but they're not good for you. And then you wonder why you put on pounds and your jeans are a little tight. But it just becomes a change. And so when I weaned myself of that, and I started juicing, and I started doing a lot of other things, and I just started drinking water, and just drinking water. And then you start to understand, there's the connection to the ripple effect, the water. And Beta Austin and Dr. Emoto and all of the research that they've done on the intelligence of water. And that when we have that ability to keep our vibration really high, when we're hydrated, it's just phenomenal. I love what Beta Austin is doing, and it makes a big, big difference. So if instead of me taking a Mountain Dew in the morning, I can take my water and I can take the words loving kindness or thank you and loving gratitude and put all sorts of positive things around my water and energize it. And then when I drink it, it feeds my cells. Mm-hmm. And it's a simple way to really sort of create that own ripple effect within your own human body. And I think that then as you start to go, you sort of creating a positive, uplifting vibe within yourself. And then when you go out into the world and you have a smile, you have better energy. You're not tired. You're not having a crash like I did after coming down from the caffeine and the sugar.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that simple. That's how we reframe negative thoughts and beliefs the same way.
Yeah.
And sort of create that ripple.
Thank you for being so honest, by the way. We've all been there. I haven't had a soda in decades. And it's like once you stop drinking it, you don't miss it. After about a week, you don't miss it. And in fact, it will taste differently when you do drink it. It will taste. You've moved beyond it, because we're evolving. Mm-hmm. If you evolve past it, you're not going to go back again. You evolve through it. But what I wrote down when you were just talking, and thank you for being so honest, by the way.
Thank you.
You be honest. We've been there. I used to love going in Kentucky Fried Chicken or some Popeye shrimp or these other things that existed, or even McDonald's. I used to do it. Burger King. We used to go at lunch and at least once or twice a week a chicken sandwich. It tastes awesome, but if you don't do it for a while, your body doesn't feel that great. You've cleansed your body of that. Of those cravings and the chemicals that are within them, and you don't feel it anymore. But really, what I just wrote down is that we all want the incredible life, happy, abundant, joyful, peaceful, filled with love and joy and excitement and passion. We want that life. Everybody does. You ask somebody what they want. Oh, I want that. The thing, though, is that most people, the average person on this planet, doesn't do anything to actually create those feelings. The actions are at odds with what they actually want. Their actions, what they ingest in their mind, what they put in their bodies. And I'm no prude, okay? I eat red meat. I'm not a vegan, vegetarian, or anything else. Like, you're a vegetarian. It's true, but hey, I like red wine and gin. What can I say? However, I don't do excess, and if I do it, it's with a purpose in mind, and I do it with love. It's wrapped in love. It's wrapped in kindness. It's wrapped in connection, because I make wonderful connections talking about gin. I do. I meet people. Yeah, it's just one of the ways I connect. It's not like, I need a gin and tonic and I just want to drink it alone. It's like I get just as passionate. I'm just as passionate about talking about gin as I am and red wine, as I am talking about anything else in my life. And it forms a basis of connection and love and friendship. And I'm impassioned by it, and it's not something that I have to do all the time. It's just, the kind of people that I connect with are all very much amazing, and we have to be willing to engage in processes that actually align with what we really, really want in life. The way we want to feel. That's, to me, where the crux is. That's the challenge. The main challenge that we have is that we want love in our lives, but we're not willing to love ourselves. We're not willing to engage, make love the primary foundation of our existence, as it should be, right? we let all these other things get in the way. We have all these other negative emotions that we feel because we've been convinced that we have to feel those things, we have to act that way, we have to ingest that thing that we don't like, or that engage in something that we don't like that produces those feelings. We're almost like kids, children, youth, young ones that are basically led by the nose around all these things. They're completely counter to what we really, really want in life. And when we start sitting down and start thinking about that, about every little nuance of our day, the things that we feed ourselves, not only our bodies but our minds, and how that is impacting how that's rippling throughout our entire life and the rest of the day. It can be a little mind-boggling. However, it's a fun exercise because we all have to recognize that some things in our life have to change for us to continue to move, for us to move forward, to move past certain things that we've, like I said, habits and things that we've ingrained in our life. A couple of Mountain Dews a day. There are people who drink 4, 5, 6 of those things. There are people who drink a lot of caffeine, 4 or 5 coffees a day. Like, why? Oh, because I have to. I need it. Well, why do you need it? We have to start asking ourselves smarter questions, and see the ripple effect in the rest of our life from every little thing that we're doing. Gosh, I love that word, ripple. I'm glad we talked about it last week.
Yeah, me too. And Michael, I just want to say something. This is sort of playing the devil's advocate, but I oftentimes signs from the universe come in really unexpected ways. So when you started speaking about the fact that Jinn is a connector for you, sometimes that's exactly the way the universe works, because it's the synchronicities and the coincidences that happen in our lives are sometimes the universe's way of saying, you know what, you're on the right track. You may not be able to have a conversation with somebody about something that really, truly matters if you didn't have that introduction of finding common ground with something as simple as a discussion about Jinn.
Oh,
and
I agree.
Oftentimes that's exactly what it is. And you have such a gift. You just shine and you radiate so much positivity in everything that you do. And you are really aligned with what your purpose is. And so sometimes that's exactly what it is. It's like, okay, you're in alignment with your soul's purpose, and which is all about connection. And so in you honoring that connection, you're like, okay, sometimes you're sitting in a restaurant and somebody sees what you're ordering and they start up a conversation. And you never know what gifts you'll share with them, and it may not even be what it's for them, that they overhear something and they wouldn't have paid attention to it if you had not been in that situation. So I think it's allowing that yourself to be open with it, and then, as Bashar always says, follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability with no insistence on the outcome. And I always love that, because it's like, what my highest excitement is. A lot of the things that excite me would people look at and go, what the heck, girl? Where are you coming from? But it's
well, that's because you're an individual.
Little things. Yeah. I mean, yesterday I moved 2 bathtubs. A fireplace mantle, probably 10 boxes of heavy ceramic tile, and I mean, my body's feeling it today, believe me. But I have this amazing clean space, and I'm like, I was just like a little, it may as well put me as like a little kid in a candy store. I'm like, wow, it's so clean. The space is so great. I'm like, I'm so happy. That's my highest excitement.
Exactly. Here's something that would really blow your mind. A lot of those conversations I have about Jinn don't even involve a drink at all. They don't involve a drink. I don't have one. I just don't have one. I just strike up. I have a conversation with a bartender about it. Or I have a conversation with somebody else who happens to. It's the perfect conversation for the moment, but it doesn't involve having a drink. It just involves, the talking about what I love about certain jinns that I've come across in the world. And a guy introduces me to the bar manager at one of Emeril Lagasse's latest restaurants in New Orleans introduces me to this gin that is made with maple leaves in Mississippi. It's infused. And I'm like, what are you talking about, maple leaves? And so we're having this really impassioned conversation about gins, and I'm telling about an Alaskan gin, I'm telling about a Japanese gin I discovered. And he goes, hey, just taste this. And a lot of times it's just taste. He pulls out the bottle, pours a little in a glass, and I get this infusion of something that is mind-blowing. I didn't order a drink. I didn't want a gin and tonic, but I just checked it out. And I said, oh, my gosh, take a picture of the bottle. I've got to find this. I got to add this to my collection, which is really kind of what it is. But we had a great conversation, and it branched off into other things too. About New Orleans, about other restaurants, about how long he's been doing what he's doing, and turns out he's been with Emeril Lagasse since he was 16. And I mean, it's amazing how when you're impassioned by something, that it ripples out. And for him, he was a living embodiment of a ripple. Okay,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and the other part is you didn't shut it down. You didn't go, oh no, I wouldn't like that, and just shut down the conversation. You're like, oh really? There was a curiosity there in that, and look at all the wonderful things you learned about another human being.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it made him feel so happy that he was able to share something so unique with you. And that's really working for the highest good of all. I mean, that's how simple it can be.
Yep.
Really.
Yep. We had a depth of connection.
Fantastic.
What I love sharing with people is that you're going to get a point. You're going to the goal for me and the goal for most people that I know, and just about everybody, when you're attempting to connect with someone, there's nothing fake about it when you're talking about something that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're passionate about something and you have an excitement for their passion, right? You can become passionate about other people's passion and not actually engage in what they're doing. And that's the beautiful thing. And you don't have to always talk about you. It's not really about you. The connection is about learning about another human being. And yeah, you're going to share bits of yourself, but really the best thing about it is becoming excited about how passionate they are about whatever it is they're doing or whatever they're engaged in. It's fantastic. It's just you just feel it. You just suck it in. It's like the love they have for themselves, the love they have for what they're doing, and the road that they're on, the journey that they're on. It's amazing. I just love to just let people talk about themselves and talk about the things they're passionate about, because it impassions me as well, and it reflects back on me. It ripples back to me, is I guess the word that's the word of the day, and that's really the case. That's what's happening. There are little ripples out there. It's like you throw 10 rocks in a pond, you're going to have 10 ripples. And
you're right.
That's the way life is. And if we look for those things, for creating those ripples, how many positive ripples can we create in a day? That's a real interesting path, real interesting journey to be on.
Yeah, you when you think about when you operate from the space of expanding good, the highest good for all, you do definitely create a ripple effect in humanity. And Greg Braden and the Heart Math Institute, they talk about the coherence between the heart and the mind and how it creates waves and how it can create changes in the collective. And the Heart Math Institute have measured the energy emitted from the physical body, from your heart, is about 9 feet. And I love it, because what I'm creating when I'm dropping into that field of the heart and I'm emanating love or joy, the people that are in that 9-foot perimeter around me are feeling it. And it impacts them that their 9 feet can grow and expand in joy and love or peacefulness. Then we've got 18 feet. And how truly transformational that can be. And that person gets in their car, they drive, and they're just real happy. They're singing the song, and they're impacting the people in the traffic. They're not even really thinking about it. We're just doing it. And that that's what it's all about, uplift humanity through that ability to create that ripple effect of embracing, the highest good of all.
I love it. Yes, it's true. Thinking about the highest good of all on a daily basis, for me, is a challenge. I know it's already there, right? I know that it's rippling out. I know technically that energy is out in the cosmos. It's out in the Earth's consciousness field and energy field. I know it's there. I'm putting it in there. I'm feeding it, and that's the way I look at it. I don't necessarily refer to it as myself as doing that or whatever. However, that's the goal. That's the mission. Okay, and you get thousands of people resonating the positivity, the excitement, the passion, feeding the ripple effect, multiplying it, and actually putting that energy out for the highest good of everyone. And it's a game changer. It's totally different.
Mm-hmm. It is. I just want to mention something real quick, Michael, because you do this, and you do this unconsciously, and it's just become part of who you are. So I believe that the universe is constantly sending us signs to confirm we're on the right path. And I can tell, and I'm going to just share this with the audience, Michael J. Russ will be in his car, and he will see a license plate, and it will be 333-444-555. All of these triples, numbers, and you share it with me. Sometimes you'll share a picture, and then it becomes like, oh my gosh, I just saw that, and I will share it back. And it's joyful. When I see it, you send me a little message that says, guess what I saw today? It creates, it's that same thing. It doesn't have to be this lofty goal of like, I'm going to change, humanity by doing this. No, it can be as simple as being like taking delight in seeing something that is a sign for you. And I know those numbers mean a lot to you when you see them.
And you look them up and you go, yeah, that's right. And here's something so interesting, because I took a trip to New Orleans and back. It's 5 hours there and back. And I saw a car with a 333. And then somewhere around 4 or 5 cars past that one was a truck with a 333. And we're talking about a 5-hour drive. And I see 333, then 2 or 3 cars, 4 cars, 333. And then I saw 4 twos. And I started adding up and going, okay, so I saw more 222s, 4 222s, and a quad 2, quadruple 2. And I saw, 5, 555, 777, but I saw 5 333s, sets of 3s. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, all right. When I get to a point where I can, check out to see what this is, I know I'm resonating that. I know this is what's happening, and it's fun for me to do that. I think my girlfriend's about to go nuts because I say, oh, there's 777s again. Oh my gosh! And it's like.
You know what, though? You're creating that energy field of affirming that, yes, I see that, thank you, and bring me more of that. Exactly. What the teachers were speaking about.
Right. Bring me more of that. I love this. Bring me more of this.
Mm-hmm. What's and I was going to say, if you recall, we did a show, and I just want to mention this so we're on the subject of being in traffic. So it was a few episodes we actually did 2 shows on it about finding your true north. And it was not that long after that I was in traffic behind a truck that said true north. And then a friend of mine who's in Ohio, I was telling him, I said, you really got to listen to the show. There were so many great nuggets. And he's in behind a truck, and it was true north. And I'm in Pittsburgh. He's in Ohio. Then I order a new book called Breakthroughology, which is the science of prioritizing and ignoring for maximum success, which is fantastic. The first page I opened it up to was chapter 7. I actually have the book here, and it just said listing priorities, defining your North Star. Without a clear sense of direction, many professionals get lost in their sense of endless tasks. It says this chapter will help you uncover, articulate, and align with your true priorities, your North Star, allowing you to take the actions that resonate with your highest goals. And I'm going, okay, do you think that I need to pay attention to the North Star and the true North? Yes. So I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, that's true. And I sent you one too, I think. Because I
yes, you did.
I'm going, wait a minute, this is true north. But this is what we do. This is what we do. And the fun is in excitement, and passion is in recognizing that you're getting these little confirmations from the universe, from your guides and your angels and source. You're getting these confirmations that what it is that you're doing is working, that that energy is going out there. It's being received. It's continuing to build and ripple in your life. And probably the best thing that I've ever heard is that a very high percentage, and I personally would put it somewhere in here, about 90% of what we encounter on a daily basis, okay, the things that we focus on that disrupt our lives, and this is, understand what I'm saying, focus on, right? Because it's all about where you place your focus and your attention, where you place your awareness, don't really matter to us. Those 90% of those things don't really matter to us. They're not important. They're what we attract in our energy field because that's where our mind is. And you and I are all about, and we talk about this all the time, is attracting things into our energy field with intention. That's what everybody's talking about, right? What we attract into our lives, the reality that we're creating, and saying, we have a lot more control. We have total control over the ripples that occur in our lives. And if we would just give ourselves the benefit of the doubt of being powerful creators, you don't have to sink into the belief of it and read a zillion books about it. Just believe it. You believe it because you get empirical evidence every single day. You get the empirical evidence that other people say doesn't exist. You get it every single day. The people that come into your life, the phone calls that you get from people, the things you think are coincidences or accidents, they're not. They are literally the ramifications of ripples of what you're putting out. That thought you had, and that energy that you put out, that you created, that path you decided to take in the morning. From a mental perspective, you decided, okay, I'm going to wake up. Everything today is positive. Everything today is positive. I'm going to see the positive in every single thing. I'm going to see the love in every single thing today. I'm going to see the joy in everything. When you make that decision that with intention, then that will be the unfolding of your day, and you will get the ripple effect of that thought process, of that direction of thought. It's not rocket science, and it's not also something that is so absolutely complicated, overly complicated. However, in order to get there, though, you're going to have to focus on that, place attention on it, become aware of how everything in your day resonates and resonates with what your original thought and intention was. And to me, that's just fun. Okay, that's the fun of life. The validation. It is the fun of life, man. You run into somebody, you go, yeah, I got it. It's not and then we say, I can't believe it. Well, just believe it.
Yeah.
Don't say I can't believe it, because you created it. You better believe it. Because if you don't believe it, I don't know, nobody else is going to believe it. But it's so darn fun. I mean, it's like it's I see people struggling and fighting in life, in survival mode, okay? And there's a lot of people who are in survival mode. And that's a mindset that is rippling throughout your life. And when I tell them that, they give me this quizzical look. Whoa, well, what? Nah, it can't be. Yeah, because the empirical evidence that they see in their lives, it resonates with fight and struggle and survival. And I said, if you want to get past that, you have to throw another rock into the lake the rock you want, that you desire. To get the ripples you want, you have to, in the initial thought process, the initial energy and vibration that you're putting out has to resonate with what you want, and that ripple will resonate with that thought. It's there's 100 different ways to say it. Bashar says it one way, Carol Collins and the teachers say it another way, Abraham says it a different way, it's just however you hear it, this is what we're talking about. And for those who are listening, those who are listeners all around the world, I think about this. I think about you. And I wish the best for you. I wish the highest good for you. However, I can wish all I want. You literally say we can wish and hope and dream that the people listening to this show actually do experience and contribute to the highest good. But we can't do it because we're not in control of that. Only our listeners are in control of their own higher good. So whatever's going on around you, whatever's happening, unfolding in your life, think about in the morning what initial seed thought you have. What intention do you establish for the way you want to feel, the way you want to interact with people throughout the day, and that you can have an amazing day no matter where you are.
Sure, absolutely.
There. Yes, I just say that because I think about our listeners and where they are.
I do. I think that's fantastic, Michael, and I really appreciate that because you do give practical ideas on how to cultivate that positive potential vision. And mindfulness really is so important. It allows us to be present, and it's the choice. It's when you're looking at that onion. You're picking all the onions out of the barrel that they're sitting in, and you pick one that you sort of think is okay. And it's not until you are peeling those outer layers that you see the beauty and potential. It's like that with every moment. And so in the morning when you wake up, if you peel off that layer and it's on your feed that's the opposite of positive, guess what? You have an opportunity to reframe those negative thoughts and those beliefs. And that when you make that conscious choice, you say, you know what, I don't have to have this in my feed. I can acknowledge it and send love and empathy and compassion and recognize that that's going on, and then be grateful and appreciate and really focus on that positive. And I think that as we become more conscious of visualizing and affirming, it reinforces that potential in our belief in what's possible. And that's really, it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to do that. But it's something that I cultivate on a daily basis. There are lots of things that I don't want to do in my day. Did I want to spend my day moving all of that stuff? Not really. I got other things to do. Would love to have had some help. I had one person that was helping me, thank goodness. But and I'm strong. I mean, I'm not a big person, but I'm very physically strong. I'm capable of lifting very heavy things. But I also recognize that when we were unloading and putting them into one of the places that I store some things, we forgot a sink outside that was it's a waterfall sink and still in the box, and it says takes 2 people to lift it, and the guy had left for the day, and I thought, well, I could carry that in. And I thought, you know what, not the smartest idea to do that. Not that I want to be not positive, but I'm also smart. I didn't want to injure myself, so I put a tarp over it, and it could wait until today. So he came back and he helped me put it where it needed to be today. And sometimes it's just that discernment, recognizing that it's okay that I'm limited. I don't have to be Hercules. I can ask for help. If I need it, I need to ask for help. And that's okay. And I think that sometimes we feel alone in what it is that where we are on our journey. And by reaching out and saying, hey, you know what, I just need a shoulder to cry on, or I need just a little bit extra support. Or do you think we could go to a movie or go for a walk? I just need to air a few things out. I mean, I think that allowing that, and that's that gift of connection that you speak about and that you cultivate. And that just in having that conversation and somebody being present and just listening. Sometimes when somebody is crying, it's not about comforting them or trying to make things better, just allowing them to be through that emotion, and then they'll feel better on the other side.
Yeah.
We don't always have to make things better. We just have to allow and recognize that space. And I sort of went off on a tangent, but, I think that we do try to provide some practical things, and I'm grateful, so grateful. That's one of the things that both Michael and I practice is gratitude, and we're grateful to each and every one of you that make the time to tune in and to share our insights and our perspectives on the world.
Yeah, it's a thank you for that. That was fantastic. I always, when I'm in a situation like that, I've learned leverage is always the best. People say, "How did you do that?" I said, "I leveraged it." I used gravity to help me. I never really lifted anything. I got it up there through gravity. And that thing is heavy. Well, I didn't lift it. I put it on a corner, and it took that corner and went to that corner, and then you can actually do that, which is the fun thing about getting from point A to point B with whatever it is. But I want to add something to what you said, which is really beautiful. About sometimes you just want to air out what's going on in your mind. Sometimes you just want to bounce a few things off people. Sometimes what you really want is to be with someone who can actually shift your mindset. And I sometimes prefer to say that when I either to a really, really good friend or even you. It helped me change my mindset for a second. I'm just looking at something and I just want to see a different side of it. But I'm so knee deep in the weeds with it that my feet are stuck, and I'm in need of just seeing a different perspective. Right? If you're new to shifting perceptions, that's a great way to get a perception shifted. I'm at the point right about now where I can pretty much do it myself, and I know whether to go left or right. And I always share with people, when you're in a situation where you're again totally consumed by something, and it could be some drama, some whatever, one of the things that really helps is to immediately shift your mind towards doing something, in your mind, body, whatever, physicality, towards doing something that you enjoy, that brings you love and excitement. And when you make that shift, the rest of the other mindset will fall away. And connect with something. If you're a knitter, sit down and knit. If you're a writer, sit down and write something. If you are somebody who loves to connect and talk with people about fun topics, go somewhere where you can do that. Don't just sit around and wallow in it, or get yourself into a big pity party about it. We don't want the negative ripples to expand, negative thought ripples to expand. So, I know we're in about 45 seconds of this show, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, Lisa, to have touched on this topic today. You always have awesome topics. I got to tell you that.
As do you, Michael.
Yeah, this is a shared event, and one that I think is amazing. And I hope our audience here on PRN FM and those listening to our podcast later on that are getting out of this something that they can enrich their lives with. That's my goal with all of this. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I do. I'm so grateful that we have an opportunity to celebrate the beauty of seeing beyond any limitations and embracing the highest potential in all things. And I wish you peace, and everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, Michael. It's been an absolute delight. Until next time, thank you.